All right, so hey guys, we decided we would take a little bit of time and review some of these higher quality images that Amazon released for the Rings of Power, mostly for Empire Magazine in the July 2022 issue. And this is the first image, one of the cover photographs that's used. I think they have 3 or 4 different ones for this episode, for this issue. And this is, as some have called her, Warrior Galadriel, clearly in a very power pose with her legs spread wide. Oh, I almost feel like it's a villainous pose with her eyes looking up a little bit, like she's looking down and kind of casting aspersions on you with her eyes. What do you think, guys? Where do you go with this image of Galadriel? We've got a couple more Galadriel ones to go through too, so we can look at those.
Well, so a number of things are apparent to me here. There's things I like, there's things I'm worried about. So the things I like, so the tone of it, this is a very grayscale image. Everything's very sort of dark and foreboding rather. And then this might be Moria that she's in, I guess, or
kind of looks like it.
Underground place of some kind. Although Moria, we're going to get another shot of Moria, if I remember the Empire images correctly, which is Moria in its prime, and it's going to look a lot more cheerful than this. But whether this is Moria or somewhere else, obviously it's meant to give us the vibe that she is a no-nonsense warrior. So this brings me, as far as what she's wearing, I don't mind it at all. I like the star motifs on the armor. There's a controversy about Warrior Galadriel versus the Galadriel that we see in the Lord of the Rings. I'm going to come down on an unusual side on this. I'm going to say that I don't actually mind the idea of Galadriel being a different kind of, having a different character or different habits, or even be more aggressive and warlike in her earlier days. It would be silly to think that after thousands of years, she doesn't have any changes or maturing or anything going on at all. So I don't have a problem with that part of it. I've heard that she's supposed to be the commander of the Northern Armies, I think. Is that right?
That is right. Yep.
So got a problem with that because there are literally, to badly misquote a political quote from a decade ago, we literally have binders of elves that we could use as actual commanders of the Northern Armies, and Galadriel does not appear in these binders.
Yeah.
So that seems to be forced.
So let me ask you then, by you saying that you're okay with a different Galadriel, which I think we all are okay, but how different are we getting? That's the question, because in the trailer we see her, jumping across what looks like the face of a glacier or an ice wall of some sort and using her knife to like hack into the glacier and grab onto it and jump, right? She's this physical warrior. We get this picture. Let me show you another picture here, right? We get her, let me drag that in. We get her, here we go, found it. We get her fighting a troll right here. That's her holding up a little flame, fighting a troll. So you can't really see a whole lot, but clearly, again, she's in battle of some sort. And then here's a behind-the-scenes shot of her holding the flame in what was probably the same location in Moria. Look at this longsword. Do you see how long this is? This is like 5 hands tall. Yep. That would be like a 6-foot longsword that she's carrying on her back, which is sort of crazy. But those are the pictures we have of Galadriel. Actually, there is one more.
Is there something about that where her sword is bigger than Aragorn's?
Yeah,
that's right. To say something.
And you know what else? It never broke.
Mm.
Never needed to be reforged because it was so big. No, that's a different one. Oh man, yeah, it's almost like someone could create a Spaceballs version of the Rings of Power, I bet, with the size of swords for sure. This here is a picture, I think, of Galadriel and what are probably the sons of the Noldor or Fingolfin. Also, I believe this is this Gil-galad right here?
It looks like it,
crowning her in some sort of something.
With a crown that all the other elves seem to already have, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, they all have these laurel leaves crowns, these golden laurel leaves. Yes. So we definitely get a different Galadriel. So that goes back to my question. How different are you okay with, Michael, with a different Galadriel? Because the sense is that the difference is so tremendous that it's not going to be the Galadriel that even Tolkien imagined at all.
Right. Yes. So let me back up a bit and say something. There is every possibility that Galadriel, throughout the thousands of years of the conflict with Morgoth and his armies and Sauron, fought. So the idea that she would be a competent warrior, an elven warrior, is no problem at all to me. But if you're going to do that, if you're going to make her that, then there needs to be a kind of realism, which I rarely see in productions of any type that delve into fantasy. So, for example, you pointed out the rather absurd sword, and it is absurd. So it would be absurd for somebody who is, much larger than Galadriel is.
Yeah.
So it's just simply unrealistic and meant to just sort of convey, "Ooh, I have a sword," and so that part I do not like. The part there's been some controversy online about the plate armor, saying that that's really not in the cards, and there's that other image you gave where she's being crowned with golden leaves.
Mm-hmm.
The plate armor is truly full plate, like for every elf there that has one of those crowns. I don't have a problem with that either, on the principle that the best stuff was made first, as we've discussed in our podcasts. So the armor and weapons of the Noldor that they crafted at the beginning were better than anything that's come that came later. So the idea that the Noldor would have the best best armor weapons available, no problem there.
Yeah.
What I have a problem with, if it turns out to be the case, is us seeing another redux of Xena Warrior Princess, but with pointed ears.
Yeah.
And can I say that the pointed ears are a little ridiculous as well? So both on her as well as Celebrimbor in the pictures, it seems like they've taken the pointed ears to 11, way beyond anything Jackson ever did with his pointed ears.
They're very Vulcan.
Yes, yeah, we're Vulcan now.
Yeah, and in fact, pointed ears are not canon. Tolkien never said they got pointy ears. Like, that was never important to him. So people who fight over pointy ears, to me, it doesn't really matter. Other than it does seem a little ridiculous how pointed.
I'm not speaking to that, except to notice that they over the years apparently they've gotten larger.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So,
well, the pattern of what we've seen in Hollywood these days makes me feel like that the direction that this character is going to take, with it being the primary character of the Rings of Power, is going to be considerably more along the lines of a warrior princess than a lore master, a person who was at, the way that they put it is she's a little more brash, abrasive, and hasn't learned and isn't the same Galadriel because she hasn't learned a lot. And certainly she was earlier, but I mean, we're still talking thousands of years after leaving, at least after leaving Valinor. So I don't know. My cynicism level is at a very high point right now. And until I see something that brings it down a little bit, I feel like, there's only a bubble that's getting like tighter and tighter, and it's going to burst one day in my head.
Yeah,
I just won't take it anymore.
Jonathan, I'm with you on that. I do think that there's going to be a rather large chance that they go the route of the typical modern warrior woman theme, which would be sad, because making younger Galadriel into Xena Warrior Princess in Middle Earth would be a disservice, I feel, to the character that Tolkien wrote.
Agreed. I completely agree. Dan, do you have any thoughts about Galadriel? I know you haven't met her much in the Silmarillion yet, but you have in The Lord of the Rings and in Peter Jackson's films, and now in this.
Yeah, the only thought that I have really with that cover image where she looks like she could be on a subway advertisement in New York about how you shouldn't be manspreading.
Either that or a new perfume from
the comically large sword. It makes me think that, and we know this because of the articles and the interviews that have come out from the people that are making the Rings of Power. We know that they are just making up characters to fit what their worldview is, and
right.
they're saying that they're making the story that Tolkien never wrote, and so I'm skeptical. I'm inclined to think that this character is not Galadriel that Tolkien wrote, and it's not the Galadriel that we know. I'm okay with having artistic license and different changes. Like, maybe she was a warrior, maybe, but like I think that making her more manly than some men it's like a power move of like, oh, this is what a warrior woman is, rather than
Yeah.
like with the warrior woman that we got in Lord of the Rings the movie was Eowyn. And for me, that was believable. She was a warrior and she was feminine.
That's right.
So I feel like this is like just trying too hard.
Yeah.
Or it may be, and
Maybe,
I am willing to see how it's portrayed, but the signs aren't great in that regard. I agree with you.
I mean, I look at I looked at all the different renditions of Galadriel we've had over the years, from this almost the 60s onward, where somebody drew her in some ways, and we've had the Silmarillion since 77, I think it is, and we've had Unfinished Tales since 1980. Which has a large section of Celeborn and Galadriel. And through all that's been written so far, it took Amazon's Rings of Power to portray Galadriel this way. I don't think anyone ever put her in armor or had her as a commander of armies or gave her a long sword. Right? That was never the character that was conveyed to us through what Tolkien wrote. At least that's what it seems like to me. And so I don't know. I making her the central character of this story just seems like one nostalgia bait, right? We got to get Galadriel in it because we had her in there, and she looked like this crazy nuclear radioactive person in Fellowship of the Ring when she was tempted with the One Ring by Frodo, and so maybe we can get her into that mode again. And I'm just afraid that bodes ill. That's the thing. There's so many, and I know they didn't get the license to the Silmarillion, but even in the appendices, right? We've got the War of the Rohirrim coming up, which is such a better tale in the sense that it's more fleshed out and more written, and that's in the appendices too. But we get Galadriel as the main character, and nobody ever looked at what happened in the Second Age and said Galadriel's the main character of the Second Age. She plays a part, but I don't think she's the main character. In fact, it's more along the lines of even like Game of Thrones, where they're not doing is that there are a lot of main characters, and that they each have to play a part. And it disappoints me that they're missing out on that and saying Galadriel is going to be the primary main character throughout this story.
Jonathan, I think you hit the nail on the head with your nostalgia bait comment. We're going to see more nostalgia bait, obvious nostalgia bait with hobbits later on, but which there's no evidence for, and there's no backing of the story, but they're just sort of putting it in there because who can imagine Middle Earth without hobbits? My bad paraphrase of that line.
Yeah, crazy. All right, cool. Well, that's some good insight into that. I'm still very skeptical. I think we're all skeptical to some reason. I think you might be giving them a little bit more benefit of doubt than I am, Michael, but I'm known to be very cynical and negative when it comes to these sorts of things. I have been for 25 years. So thanks for listening. Hey, if you have particular comments about these images, put them in the comments below. We'll read them, we'll comment, and we'll also be going through some other images there, and there'll be links somewhere around here or below too for all the other images we go through. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.